Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long was 1975. A YouTuber's on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Long was 1975.
Hey YouTube, Norway's Post 1975, and welcome to something a little bit different. I wanted to take a look at an early issue of the Beano. Apologies for the background noise. I have no idea what's going on outside, but like that must be the 7th old bill card it's gone tearing by. Someone must have said something about Keir Starmer or the Labour government online, and therefore we got to go and arrest them and throw them in prison for 2 years because freedom of speech no longer exists in this country. Yay, the left! Anyway, yeah, so I want to have a look at my, well, not my earliest issue of the Beano. This is my earliest issue of the Beano. It's 1966, but as you can see, it's a little bit dark on the front. Back is fine. Dennis the Menace. Funnily enough, Dennis the Menace. Look at him. This is basically how he looks now. I mean, this is like the character was created. This is like 1966. Dennis the Menace was created in There'll be loads of tangents in this. Was created in March 1951. I can't remember what day, but essentially he remained unchanged until the early 2000s when the BBC had a cartoon of him. You could argue it was that cartoon success that, you know, bled down into more people buying a comic that saved the comic from cancellation, because the Dandy was cancelled but the Beano wasn't. But the Dennis the Menace depicted on TV was, as you would expect, it's kids' TV and it's on the BBC. He was a complete pussified, pussy-whipped, politically correct idiot. And then they reflected this in the comic for a few years. And I don't know if they realised that once the cartoon was, you know, cancelled, that they weren't restrained, you know, by keeping them in line with what was on TV, or the fact that people generally didn't like this depiction of Dennis. Probably older, you know, people like myself, older people like myself, who, you know, Dennis, this isn't Dennis. So they brought him back in line. Anyway, random tangents. But yeah, 1951, March he was created, and I couldn't believe this when I first found this out. He was created on the exact same day that the American Dennis the Menace, you know, the one who lived next door to Mr. Wilson and made his life hell, wore dungarees. We shall refer to him as inferior Dennis. He's a complete pussy compared to our Dennis. And we also refer to our Dennis as superior Dennis. But yeah, they were created on the same day. Neither creator knew anything about the other individual creating their own version of Dennis the Menace. It just appeared to have happened that way. I always find that kind of cool, but obviously our Dennis is the better Dennis, the superior Dennis, if you will. I have a few more issues, really nice clean ones. Now obviously at this point, because Biffo's on the front and Dennis is on the back, and that's the only part of the comic that is in colour apart from the centre pages, right? More old Bill, see? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, the Bass Street Kids, they were my favourites as well, and that's in the late 60s, so they've been knocking around for ages. But yeah, so basically the most popular characters, front cover, back cover, centre spread, awkward, they were the ones that got the colour of the comic. The rest is black, white and red, as you will see. But yeah, and the thing is, I'm not sure what it was. The Dandy had the same thing, Corky the cat, which is anthropomorphic, you know, humanoid-esque speaking animals. Apparently that was a thing that tickled the funny bone of kids. Not just the Beano and the Dandy, but loads of comics had it. So yeah, there we go. But yeah, so when I used to get the Beano, I remember reading, because we used to do this, I did it for, like, you know, my computer games and console games, black and white at the back of the Evening Post. Read through it one day, found this guy who had to sell a whole bunch of old Beanos, like crates and crates and crates of them, as he said, dating back to the 60s. So it's the late 80s now, so, you know, it's only a distance of 20 years between these two, you know, my collection and these. But I'd never seen Beanos from before. I had read them. So yeah, my mum took me down there and I bought a whole bunch of them, and I didn't realise that these ones were really old ones with Biffo on the front and the old logo. Eventually it would become this, and then it would never ever change from that logo, and never will, hopefully. But yeah, I thought this could be a bit of fun. We could have a look in here. But this is the simplicity of it. I love the artwork and how clean it is. But hello readers, Biffo jumps the fence. Apparently a talking bear has stolen a kangaroo from the zoo, but he's jumping. His friend is what? He's jumping on a trampoline. Pyong, because why not? Hey up, and then what's all the jumping about for, Biffo? Don't you know, Buster? This is a yeeple. Can't help but think that this joke probably would have played out better in February, because you know this is January the 27th, but. This is probably the most traditional, old school, retaining the original sort of Beano, you know, stylistics or stylings, if you will. Because once we get inside, you'll be surprised at how some of the stuff is just timeless, I guess, and they never, if it's not broke, don't fix it. They never really, you know, went away from it. It'll make sense when I show you, but yeah. So we go inside, and then we have 3 bears. I remember that this was in there up to the 90s when I used to regularly read it, and didn't hate it. Not a massive fan of the 3 bears, but it's that fantastic black, white, red artwork. I can't read it because despite what it looks like on camera, the darkness there, everybody, the light there is not great. But then you had Roger the Dodger. Now Roger the Dodger was one of my favourites. He's still going strong, and the thing is, many of these artists would pass away and other people would take over, but there was a core design to the character. Apart from Ball Boy, you don't want to know what Ball Boy looks like now. It's an absolute travesty. But Roger the Dodger still looks like this. He's got gelled hair, bit of a fringe going on at the front, kind of like all those chavs in the early 2000s and the late 90s. Remember that, when they used to pull their fringe down and then gel it to the front of their head? Everyone did it, like the towny kids, and they thought they looked so cool. They didn't realise that they looked like complete numpty twats. But yeah, his whole shtick was he spent every waking hour trying to get out of doing stuff, doing homework, doing chores, doing anything for anyone. He was basically lazy, but he put so much effort into being lazy that you could argue that it might have just been easier to do the bloody chore. But like, he refuses to get up here, and his dad has to get him up, but like to the point where he tires himself out and goes to bed. And then Roger reads his own copy of the Beano, because they may all be in the Beano, but they read the Beano in this comic, and they all live in Beano Town. But yeah, so this is the late 60s. So the Beano was created in 1938, the same with the Dandy. So this is 1968. The Beano is 30 years old at this point, but it's essentially what I would like to call modern Beano. This is weird. Also, I don't know what 3D is adjusted for inflation. I did put it 3 old pence pre-decimalization, but I put it into a converter online, but all these converters seem to struggle with old British money and pre-decimalisation. I think it said it was £1.33, but another one said it was £6. £1.33 feels about right, which would make it actually cheaper than the Beano now, because the Beano now is pushing £4. Anyway, now Billy the Cat. Appropriate that he's a crime fighter, and there's more old Bill going by. Yeah, so I didn't know that Billy the Cat was a thing, and until one Christmas I got, 1988, I got the 50th anniversary Beano, not book, not annual. It was kind of like a historical documenting book that just featured loads of information about, and some strips, old school characters that were no longer in there and stuff like that. And they had this crime fighting kid called Billy the Cat, who was like this amazing trained acrobat, and he would kick the shit out of adults and stuff like that. And I thought it was absolutely amazing. And then subsequently, I don't know if these old books made him popular again, but he showed up then over the years, coming back every now and then in the Beano book at Christmas, and has done recently and stuff like that. But it would appear that this is his last appearance. that's all about. That's about all for Billy the Cat for the time being. But he will be back in the Beano again. Meanwhile, his superpower for you, Daddy on a Dolphin, starts next week. There you go. But yeah, and how much can you in an action strip can you do in 2 pages? But yeah, so when I got all these albinos, because he's in a few more ones that I haven't dug out, I was like, Billy the Cat, man, this is so cool. And then you got Little Plum, which I don't know if he still shows up. I honestly don't know. I don't know. It would be deemed offensive now or a stereotypical depiction of a Native American, because you know what the left is like. But yeah, he was basically the youngest member, a child, because that would make him relatable to people reading it, of the this Indian family. And yeah, he wasn't a massive favourite of mine, but I didn't dislike him. Billy the Wiz, which obviously since, because he's the fastest boy alive, that's his shtick. He's like the Flash fast. We all end up using that as a nickname for amphetamines in this country, didn't we? Or speed. Get a bit of whiz in it. But I love Billy the Wiz. Thought it was absolutely banging. As a kid, I always thought he was an alien because they got these weird stalks on the male characters have these weird stalks on their head. I think that's just to represent hair though, but like for the first 5 years of me reading the Beano, I thought he was an alien, and that's why he was so fast. But again, black, white and red, because only the front, back in centre. The Bass Street Kids, big love the Bass Street Kids as a kid. I did because I've read these before, but I've forgotten until I read this now, that realised that the Bass Street Kids was a regular in the 60s. But yeah, so basically a group of school kids that were just menaces and dodgers, you know, like Dennis and Roger, and constantly plagued their headmaster and their teacher and their janitor, which, amazingly, this is what I love about old school comics as well. Glue that I wouldn't have as a kid, because I hated this. I would have bought another copy to do it, but glue it onto some card, cut him out, stick some pins. You know, what are the ones where you do brass tacks? You push them through and then you pull the pins up backwards. They've got a name. Blue Peter used to use them all the time. But yeah, stuff like that's so cool. So I'm assuming that's because they were massively popular as well. Everyone else, not necessarily unpopular, but they were relegated to black and white, or black and white and red. Pop Parade, which was basically dog versions of all the Bass Street Kids. So basically, again, you know, the humanoid-esque animal, but these were, every Bass Street Kid had his own dog. I love Pop Parade, so here you go, with the Bass Street dogs. And then Lord Snooty, which is, you know, he's this incredibly rich lord, or child of a lord, and you know, he hangs around with working class kid. Hilarity ensues. But I quite like Lord Snooty. I'm not sure why. It says Lord Snooty, but he wasn't really an asshole, if you know what I mean. Then Minnie the Minx, basically, so you talk about being groundbreaking and ahead of its time, you know, strong female characters and stuff like that. Because this was predominantly a comic for a boy, because here you go, it would be a comic for girls. But they put a female menace in it, and she was Minnie the Minx. And she was basically the female version of Dennis. She's still going strong, and her character has remained pretty much unchanged since. But, Jesus, she could have killed her dad. Yeah. She became really popular, so her strip got expanded to 2 pages. But yeah, I love Minnie the Minx, absolutely fantastic. Old school adverts for little sister Twinkle, free inside this pretty pink ring, free with Diana, dainty Diana bangle, free to all boys, stand-up portraits of famous footballers in their club's colours. Victor, I like Victor. I used to get, and I didn't get the comic. He's in cartoon. But used to get books at Christmas again, because it was just a staple Christmas present. Teaser time will return to the Beano next week. So this advert is actually taking the place of something. And then we go on to the Q-Bikes, which I have no idea what this is and I can't remember. But basically, kids on bikes being superheroes and attacking a polar bear. Because of course, here come the Q-Bikes. And that's it. So, I mean, let's have a look for a few of these. Going to see the lineup's going to be pretty much the same. No, Billy the Wiz has moved to the front, but Roger the Dodger has taken over on the second page. General Jumbo, that's right, another one of the kind of more serious, like Billy the Cat strips. You know, he was a crime fighter. He could, you know, he would, compete against adult criminals and stuff like that because he had this remote control thing on his wrist, and he controlled, like, you know, toys, army toys, stuff like that. It's been a while since I read them. Little Plum, Three Bears. I like the fact that this, what issue is this? 1970, so we are a few years later. So, I mean, they've still made it. Bash Street Kids, still centre, still colour, still basically amazing artwork. Remained unchanged as well. They still look like this. Absolutely banging and fantastic. Pup Parade, Lord Snooty. The cue cards are still in here. Crime fighters, basically. Apparently, kids like crime fighters. Minnie the Minx, she's now a page and a half. And, okay, that's kind of cool. I never would have done it, but teaser time. So that's what the adverts took over from last time. It was literally just, you know, puzzles and stuff like that. And the kid who owned this in the 70s, he filled them in. Okay, that's really kind of cool. I do like that, actually. I never would have done it, and I never did it in any of my... cut on, may as well leave you fat down like that. Oh yeah, Dennis on the back again. But yeah, so 1967, so we're going back now. Punch and Jimmy, never heard of them, don't remember them. Billy the Cat, I mean, look how good the artwork is in Billy the Cat. This smells like a library, and I don't mean that in a necessarily unpleasant way. Little Plum, Billy the Wiz, Bash Street Kids. I adored the Bash Street Kids as a kid. Teaser time. Minnie the Minx is 1 1/3, 1 1/2, 1 1/3. Summer Special. Yeah, you used to get Summer Special. I remember that. Didn't know they started this early, but the Iron Fish. Yeah, see more crime fighting kids competing in an adult world with tech that they couldn't possibly afford. Submarines. But it was a different time. Lord Snooty, Three Bears. More Shenanigans with Dennis. Biffo, 1969. Biff goes to the car wash. What's Dennis doing? He was a right thuggy little bastard, but we loved him for it. Little Plum, Roger the Dodger, black and white this time. The cue cards. So what? They went from bikes to carts, carts to bikes. Billy the Wiz. You Can't Do Without This Great Book. Dennis the Menace, 1970. So that's your Dennis the Menace annual, because it wouldn't be a book, but he did get his own book, which was an annual. And then Free with Mandy, The Seahorse Comb. Obviously Mandy would be another comic made by D.C. Thompson. General Jumbo, Lord Snooty, Pup Parade, and then my oldest one, which is 1966. You've seen the back. Punch and Jimmy. Oh, it has seen better days, hasn't it? General Jumbo. See? Little, you know, planes, toy soldiers and stuff like that. Again, where did he get tech like this? Little Plum, Billy the Wiz, Billy Wiz. Bash Street Kids. Teaser time, Minnie the Minx. Oh, so she had a page and a half in the 60s. Like I said, groundbreaking. You know, people always go on, they're on No Strong, you know, like many, many years later. That, you know, comics are sexist, the whole world is sexist and misogynistic, basically the left. And there were no strong female characters. Bloody Minnie the Minx was in the 66, you know, Beano. Now, this is funny. Biffo the Bear, but look, Dennis the Menace is taken over the front page of the Beano. And then you get to the end of the strip and he takes his mask off and he says, oh no wait, it's not Dennis the Menace, it's Biffo, ha ha ha. Well, Dennis the Menace became obviously the most popular character in the Beano, so in about 20 issues time, I can't remember the exact number what it was, but it's 1974, so yeah, right about, I don't know, 20 issues, 68, 67, 1,600 and what is that one? Yeah, 1,667, Dennis the Menace takes over, Biffo gets moved to inside. I can't remember at that point because I have that. I have so many of the 70s issues, so we might do a follow-up video. But yeah, and then Dennis the Menace gets onto the back as well as the front, and Biffo gets moved to one page inside, which, to be fair, apart from going from colour to black and white, wasn't really a demotion as such, because he only had one page in the first place. But Dennis, definitely superior Dennis, got a promotion because he got 2 pages. Also, I did manage to convert this. 2p adjusted for inflation now is, well, no, I don't know. It said it was 22p, but that doesn't seem high enough. Anyway, Three Bears. The best thing about Three Bears is the artwork. Grandpa, no idea what this is. I mean, I've read all of these at some point, so you know, I've just forgotten. But Minnie the Minx, full 2 pages. She had a full 2 pages. Here you go, coming back to what I said when people say they weren't strong female characters and all comics were fucking misogynistic and sexist and shit like that. She had this more old Bill. I don't know what's going on, but it's a fucking war zone out there. She had a full 2 pages before Dennis. Although Dennis did get an annual. Lord Snooty, Billy the Cat and Katie. The ones... Oh, they're given... Yeah, so this is afterwards, because it's... yeah, so they gave him an assistant. And look, he got 2.5 pages. Pets Picture Gallery. Not sure what that is. The Bash Street Kids. Is this Halloween then? No, it's February. Why have we got a witch's hat? Be Lewis Pup Parade. Roger, 1.5 pages. Teaser time. Kid gave up. Look at it, look at it. That's the Roger the Dodger I remember. Babyface Finlayson. Yeah, basically he was a cowboy. A robbing, thieving cowboy, but he was also a baby. To be fair, he scared me as a kid, because look at him. But the McTickles, stereotype, probably wouldn't be like that anymore. Don't remember them. But don't remember the Nibblers either. Family of mice, apparently, and Little Plum. I like the fact that they do move them all around. And Dennis. And Dennis. This is 1645. He's still hanging in there, isn't he? Old Biffer. Oh, it's an ice cream. I thought it was a lampshade. He was licking a lampshade. Because you don't know the Three Bears, Grandpa, Minnie the Minx. Yeah, that's when I remember it as well. It was on 2 pages, and it was black, white, and red. That was cool. Lord Snooty, Billy the Cat, and Katie. Old school Beano was fantastic. It's a far better comic than it is now. It's too bloody expensive now. And while they had brought Dennis back in line to some degree with the Dennis we all remember, he's still a pussy compared to this little bastard. And by that I mean, I love you, Dennis. You were fucking the tits. Three Bears, Grandpa, Minnie the Minx, Billy the Cat and Katie, Lord Snooty. So the lineup is consistent. I don't know how late these ones go, so I might, in another video, crack into some of the later 70s ones, so we can see we'll start to see some changes in the lineups. Whoa, the colour seems off. Yeah, so we're very, very consistent. To be fair, though, we're stuck in 1974. We're in 1973. We're going backwards. Johnny Hawk, the story of Johnny Hawk and his friends. So I'm assuming this is someone who trains birds, falcons, stuff like that. One was inspired by Kez. But yeah, don't remember him. Tickles, Babyface Finlayson. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I know I can never pronounce it as a kid. 2 more issues. What are we on here? 1972, Bid for the Best. So, yeah, I'll have to dig some more out. I might have a look through them beforehand to see if I can find a selection with some more interesting lineups. But, yeah, I mean, I love the Beano anyway, and it wasn't substantially different from this when I started reading it in the mid-80s, but when I got these as a kid, 1971, it's a window. I mean, I recognise some of the characters, and it amazed me that they've been knocking around for that long, and I didn't realise. But it amazed me also that how much stuff existed in the Beano or strips that I knew absolutely nothing about, like the bells of St. Lemons. What? Anyway, as always, you followed the maze. The maze was included in the strip, was it? Yeah, look, the bells of St. Lemons, and included in the strip was a maze that you had to figure out yourself. Yeah, I'd love to know what you think, especially if you... So what's the Q bikes and Q carts? They mixed it up. Yeah, if you read the Beano back in the day, and how about that? I mean, like myself, which is the 70's and the 80's initially. Yeah, and I mean, I still get it every Christmas, but it's a far different beast than it was. But my God, the Beano, staple of my childhood. Would love to know what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.